I am a peerless war emperor, but 7 beautiful fiancés force Liang into a wolf. Cold and proud CEO, charming loli, hot and spicy senior sister crying and shouting for support. But I am promiscuous but not vulgar, passionate but not promiscuous. I just want to sleep on the softest bed, eat the sweetest candy, kiss the most beautiful girl, and be the wildest wolf. Do you think I rely on my father and mother? No, I'm just born strong. Chapter 1. Spring Scenes Suddenly Release. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. It's so itchy. So comfortable. The frequency is too fast, I'm about to go to heaven. The soul-stirring voice echoes incessantly. How about it? My skills are good, isn't it more comfortable after raising my legs? At the police station, Yi Qiu is giving acupuncture and moxibustion to a policewoman. Yi Qiu, you're amazing. The little policewoman touched her injured legs and blushed all over her face. Yi Qiugang was about to continue administering the needle when 2 young female police officers next to her approached. Brother Yi Qiu, my chest is tight. Why don't you give me a brooch acupuncture? Brother Yi Qiu, my buttocks hurt. Would it be convenient for you to give me 2 injections? Faced with rude demands, Yi Qiu's eyes lit up. The injured part of you too is too sensitive. It's not convenient for acupuncture and moxibustion here. Otherwise, I'll come to your 2 houses tonight and let you both have a good time. As soon as these words were spoken, the 2 young police officers shyly lowered their heads, their eyes almost drawing. As the atmosphere became increasingly ambiguous, the head of the police detention center, Li Feng, coughed twice. Hey, little ancestor, it's almost enough. Hurry up and leave. I want to detain you again. How can these little girls still have the energy to work? Li Feng looked at Yi Qiu's detention record, feeling extremely anxious. Watching a top-notch young woman take a shower, detained for 5 days. Black long straight big wave girl, detained for 10 days. Sexual harassment of beautiful girl Xiaoyulai, detention for 15 days. Anything that could be imagined without any charges, Li Fengquan detained Yi Qiu. But this little ancestor refused to leave and had to spend some more time in the police detention center. Yi Qiu shook her head and said, Lao Li, I won't go out of the police detention center. I'll wrap my food around it. Li Feng couldn't express his bitterness and said, Little ancestor, my temple here is small, and I can't accommodate your lustful demon. Buddha. If his superiors were to know that he had been detained for so long for his outstanding military achievements in the country, his mind would have to move. Lao Li, do you think I want to trouble you, this terrible old man? It's not my 7 fiancés crying and shouting to marry me. You know, as someone who is promiscuous and loves freedom, I don't want to get married young. Thinking of the 7 fiancés she had never met before, Yi Qiu's head swelled. Little ancestor, don't be so cheap and act obedient. Your 7 beautiful and charming fiancés have a limited engagement period of only 10 years. After the deadline, the engagement will automatically expire, and they can marry anyone. At that time, if you want to inquire about your father's whereabouts again, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Li Feng pouted and said. Is it about to expire? Why didn't you say it earlier? Yi Qiu's eyes widened and he became anxious in an instant. 10 years ago, my father Yi Guqing was chased by his enemy, and suddenly the world evaporated. Before his disappearance, he left clues in 7 marriage documents, and in order to find the truth, he had to gather all the marriage documents. Now, with just a few fingers, there are only a few months left in the 10-year period. After retiring and returning to China, Yi Qiu not only wanted to bring back 7 beauties, but also wanted to uncover the truth behind the disappearance of the Yi family. Thinking of this, he left in a hurry, but in less than half a minute, he returned with a playful smile. Yi Qiu took out his empty pocket and said shyly, Lao Li, can you give me 500 yuan and rent a room first? Li Feng flipped his face very quickly and quickly cleared his relationship. Get out, I don't know you. Yi Qiu continued to pester and say, you can arrange a place for me to live without borrowing money. That's possible, but you need to pay the rent on time. Speaking, Li Feng suddenly took out a large string of keys, at least dozens. His main job is to be a director, and his side job is to rent a company. 10 minutes later, the two arrived at a low-rent housing area. Before they could get close, a wave of pop 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 came from the air. The woman's voice was full of desire and charm. Husband, hurry up and exert yourself, they still want it. The man quickened his pace and worked hard, saying, little rascal, I must make you beg for mercy today. Yi Qiu gritted her teeth and said, at my youthful age, can't I hold myself to death at night? No, I have to move to a different place. It's best if all the roommates are beautiful women. Li Feng raised his eyebrows and said, your requirements are quite high, kid. I remember there was a suite in the North District where two beautiful women with an average age of 25 lived. Yi Qiu could no longer wait and said, is there such a good thing? Let's take a walk and take me to see. But the next second, when he saw the roommate, he was stunned. A 48-year-old divorced widow with a 2-year-old baby girl waiting to be fed. Yi Qiu clenched his fists tightly and said angrily, old kid, you're playing with me. Li Feng suppressed his smile and said seriously, just say, is the average age of these two beauties 25 years old? Yi Qiu lost patience and threatened, if you don't find me a beautiful roommate today, I'll demolish your police detention center. Li Feng immediately clasped his hands and said, don't do it, there's something to say. 15 minutes later, the two arrived at an extremely luxurious villa area. The beautiful CEO of a large company lives inside because he opposes arranged marriages and rents this villa. I have an urgent matter to take a step first. Whether you can take her or not depends on your own destiny and abilities. After speaking, Li Feng disappeared without a trace. Yi Chuman urgently entered the villa and said, beauty, I'm here. Just as I entered the door, I saw scattered clothes on the sofa. Lace underwear, black stockings, and sexy high heels. Yi Qiu's saliva flowed uncontrollably downwards, and it was not over yet. He also vaguely heard movements in the shower room. Although separated by frosted glass, one can still see the beautiful woman's curvaceous and slender S-shaped figure. Yi Qiu's body was scorching hot, and she felt like her nose was about to bleed. Just as he was about to investigate, a mesmerizing voice came from the bathroom. Qiu, help me get my underwear. Autumn and Autumn. Upon hearing this title, Yi Qiu's blood boiled with excitement. The beautiful CEO must have been too passionate and unrestrained. I'm so sorry to call you so affectionate and ambiguous before we meet. Ha! How does she know her name? Oh, by the way, it must have been Li Feng who said hello in advance. Hey, old man, you have a bit of conscience. Yi Qiu rubbed her hands and picked up stockings, bra, and lace underwear, then walked towards the shower. The bathroom door opened, filled with mist, and Xiao Muling was only wrapped in a white towel from top to bottom. It has to be said that her figure is really good, and the thin towel cannot conceal the pride that is about to come out. Just as Xiao Muling reached out to pick it up, he suddenly withdrew his soft pussy like an electric shock. Rogue! How did you get in? Xiao Muling, who had always been calm and composed, was so frightened that his face turned pale. She panicked and lifted her slender jade legs, kicking Yi Qiu's crotch. Cut off one's children and have no descendants' feet. Yi Qiu instinctively lightly blocked it, but despite this, he still couldn't control the force well. Ah! The bathroom was very slippery, and Xiao Muling fell to the ground with a bang, and the towel wrapped around his body also fell off. In an instant, the spring light suddenly burst out. Up and down, completely naked. So big, so white, so round, so tempting. Yi Qiu's eyes widened, and her body became even more shameful. Bastard, get out of here. If you look at me again, I'll call the police. Xiao Muling, who fell to the ground, quickly covered the critical area with a towel. At this moment, she was both shy and angry, blushing like a tender apple. She struggled to get up, but couldn't stand up because she twisted her foot. Looking at the beautiful woman in front of her, Yi Qiu couldn't help but swallow her saliva. Don't seduce me, I'm a gentleman. Yi Qiu picked up the bathrobe and quickly threw it over. You. What did you say? I seduced you. It's clearly you, a thug, who forcibly broke into a private villa and watched me take a shower. Xiao Muling quickly put on the bathrobe and wrapped it around a flawless white jade body. But at this moment, a rustling sound that ordinary people cannot hear came from outside. Shoo! Yi Qiu made a silent gesture and immediately hugged the round and smooth Xiao Muling in her arms. In an instant, the fragrance of milk filled the nose, and the soft touch captivated people. Xiao Muling struggled fiercely, but suddenly the door of the villa was forcibly knocked open. The middle-aged man broke through the door and saw Xiao Muling and Yi Qiu holding each other, his face instantly darkened. Chapter 2. Lighter, a bit painful. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Uncle Duan. Xiao Muling frowned and quickly pushed away Yi Qiu. The person who came was the butler of the Xiao family, Duan Jingchun. Miss, your fiancé has retired and returned home. You should go back and fulfill your engagement, instead of sleeping with a wild man. Duan Jingchun was ordered by the head of the Xiao family to bring his own young lady back to get married. Unexpectedly, it shattered the enchanting scene of Xiao Muling and other men having sex. If the old man knew about this, he would probably vomit blood in anger. Xiao Muling gritted his teeth and stubbornly said, I won't go back. Miss, your fiancé AE is very outstanding, and you are not the only fiancé AE. While the other family's heirs haven't been successful yet, hurry back and get married to him. In Duan Jingchun's words, there is no doubt. The family's struggle relies not only on luck, but also on talent. 10 years ago, a young man emerged and amazed all living beings. In order to win over this person, many homeowners used their granddaughter as bait and made a marriage agreement with her. Now, the return of the young king will naturally attract the commotion of various families. However, Xiao Muling was very devoted. Uncle Duan, go back and tell Grandpa that I will never marry a man I don't love. Duan Jingchun looked at Yi Qiu standing aside and questioned Xiao Muling, are you going to argue with the old man just because of this kind of behavior? Xiao Muling's heart stiffened and he said, so what? However, Yi Qiu suddenly became unhappy and said, hey, please clarify what kind of person I am. Duan Jingchun glanced at him and said coldly, if you're more sensible, get out of here quickly. The daughter of the Xiao family is not something you can touch. Originally, Yi Qiu didn't want to meddle in his own business, but when he said this, he had to intervene today and said, have you asked for my opinion on taking my woman away? Duan Jingchun didn't have the heart to talk too much nonsense. Since that's the case, no wonder I'm being impolite. I've also been ordered to act, miss, don't blame me. After speaking, Duan Jingchun skipped over Yi Qiu and wanted to forcibly take Xiao Muling away. Let go of me. I won't go back. Xiao Muling kept resisting and threw a look of help at Yi Qiu. Unfortunately, Duan Jingchun is a practitioner, his hands tightly entwined with her like pliers. What kind of skill is bullying a girl? Brother, if there's anything we can say, let's sit down and have a good conversation. Yi Qiu calmly walked forward and placed her hand on Duan Jingchun's shoulder. Taking advantage of Duan Jingchun's lack of attention, he lightly tapped his finger on his laughing spot. Duan Jingchun, who originally had a fierce face, released Xiao Muling and began to laugh wildly. Ha ha ha. Gaga gaga. Duan Jingchun was completely out of control, laughing back and forth. Xiao Muling was blinded and had no idea what had happened. Uncle Duan, who has always been serious, suddenly seems to have changed his personality. Kid, are you tapping my acupoints? Ha ha ha. Duan Jingchuan's eyes were full of malice, but his facial expression smiled like a flower. What acupoint? I don't know. Why are you laughing so happily, drinking cat urine? Yi Qiu looked at Duan Jingchun with a brilliant expression and joked. You wait, I can't spare you, quack quack. Duan Jingchun put down a harsh sentence and ran out to continue laughing wildly. Xiao Muling suddenly frowned and pushed away Yi Qiu in front of him, questioning, Who the hell are you? I was a tenant introduced by Uncle Li, and of course, if you need it, you can always be your boyfriend. Yi Qiu chuckled and spread his hand, new tenant. Xiao Muling didn't believe it and immediately dialed the landlord Li Feng's phone. But in the next second, her expression dimmed because this pale guy didn't lie. Well, I didn't lie to you, did I? Yi Qiu reached out to help Xiao Muling with his twisted foot. Get out of here. I don't need your help. Xiao Muling felt ashamed when his body was exposed to light earlier. Even though this guy helped her dismiss Duan Jingchun, she still didn't want any physical contact. She exhausted all her strength and wanted to forcefully stand up, but her twisted jade foot was completely powerless. Yi Qiu couldn't help but say, a princess hugged the soft and sticky Xiao Muling in her arms and said, Where is your room? You let me down. Restless Xiao Muling resisted desperately. But the more she is like this, the easier it is for sensitive parts of her body to rub against Yi Qiu's arms. You can't go down to the ground now. I'll help you with orthopedic massage later, it'll be good soon. Yi Qiu studied under an old military doctor in the theater of war, and his medical skills were unparalleled in the world. This small injury and pain were easy for him. I don't want you to massage me, I can walk on my own. Xiao Muling said no, but his body was very honest. In order not to fall, the jade arm unconsciously draped over Yi Qiu's shoulder. She deliberately turned her head away, preventing Yi Qiu from seeing her shy and irresistible pretty face. Quickly, the two of them arrived at the second floor, and Yi Qiu grabbed the jade foot that couldn't bear to squeeze, and began to massage and massage. Ah! Lighter, it hurts a bit. At the beginning, Xiao Muling couldn't adapt and moaned in pain. As Yi Qiu's massage gradually progresses, the pain in the ankle gradually disappears. Comfortable. Give it a little more strength. The crispy and numb feeling made Xiao Muling's delicate body tremble slightly. With her eyes closed, she couldn't help but shout out. At this moment, Qiu Ling, her good friend who had previously gone out to take out food, happened to be back at the villa. Just now, Xiao Muling mistook Yi Qiu for Qiu Ling and affectionately called out, Qiu Qiu. After hearing the voice that made people daydream, Qiu Ling was momentarily taken aback, and then a playful smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Just as she lightly descended the stairs, the door suddenly opened and said, Qiu Qiu, have you come back? Sweating profusely, Xiao Muhan pretended to be calm, but his eyes were somewhat evasive. Qiu Ling raised his eyebrows and joked, Mu Ling, if you continue, just pretend that I don't exist. Xiao Muling was afraid that Qiu Ling would think too much and said, Don't misunderstand. I sprained my foot, he was helping me with orthopedic massage. She desperately wanted to explain, but was surprised to find no signs of redness or swelling in her ankle, not even a trace of pain. Ha! Strange. This guy's technique is too good, isn't it? Just as Xiao Muling was in a daze, Yi Qiu slowly emerged from her boudoir. Now, it's Qiu Ling's turn to furrow her brows. The first feeling Yi Qiu gave her was really not very good. Faded shirt, unglued Nike shoes, you look like a poor guy. Mu Ling, come over here. Qiu Ling quickly pulled his best friend aside and whispered in secret. Xiao Muling had no choice but to inform him of everything that had happened. Mu Ling, please keep an eye on him. He doesn't seem like a good person. He dares to hand over stockings today, tear off his underwear tomorrow, and rape you the day after tomorrow. No, I'm not at ease. I must thoroughly question this guy and find out his background. As she spoke, Chiu Ling hooked her fingers at Yi Chiu and said, "Come over here. Miss, I have something to ask you." Yi Chiu looked at the surging waves of Chiu Ling, her eyes lit up. This little girl's figure, where it should be raised and where it should be raised, is not inferior to Xiao Muling at all. Sure, let's go into the room and chat slowly. With only a faint sound, Yi Chiu casually closed the door of the room and began to discuss living people with Chiu Ling. No, it should be about exploring life. For about half an hour, I didn't see the door open for a long time. Xiao Muling was worried that his best friend Chiu Ling would suffer losses, so he immediately stood up to check the situation. As soon as I walked to the door, I heard the sound of conversation inside. "What are you waiting for? Take it off, right? Are you really going to take it off? This is still my first time. I'm a professional, how can I do it for you if you don't take it off?" "Not very good, I didn't wash it there, it's a bit dirty." "It's okay, I don't mind. If we're ready, let's start." Chapter 3. Big Muscle Dominator. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Xiao Muling's listening became more and more inappropriate. This guy is so shameless, he even took action on his best friend. Pop. She didn't even think about it and pushed open the door. However, there was no scene of the male and female happiness she had imagined inside. Yi Chiu was sitting in front of the bed, taking off Chiu Ling's socks and giving her a foot massage. Xiao Muling's eyes were wide and beautiful, very embarrassed. "Take it off" originally refers to taking off socks, "I haven't washed it yet, it's a bit dirty there" refers to washing feet. She misunderstood and thought that Yi Chiu was going to give her good friend Chiu Ling. Despite this, Xiao Muling still pretended to be calm and said, "What are you doing?" Yi Chiu didn't hide anything. "I said I was just helping you with orthopedic massage. If she doesn't believe me, I'll prove it to her." As she spoke, Yi Chiu grabbed Chiu Ling's delicate feet and began massaging them. "Ah! It's so comfortable. Good brother, you have more strength." Chiu Ling didn't want to shout at first, but it really melted into her bones and she couldn't help but shout out. "Mu Ling, you should also go to bed quickly. He's so skilled, the three of us are together." Chiu Ling waved to Xiao Muling, gesturing for her to also come and enjoy it. Although Xiao Muling knew that Chiu Ling was referring to foot massage, why does this sound strange? Especially when it comes to going to bed, having good skills, and three people together, it's easy to misunderstand when combined. To avoid embarrassment, Xiao Muling quickly shook his hand and gestured for Yi Chiu to go out. He had something to say to Chiu Ling. Chiu, have you asked? What is his background?" Xiao Muling asked in a voice. Chiu Ling shook his head and said, "This guy is very picky and keeps his mouth shut. It's him who keeps asking me about your situation." Xiao Muling looked puzzled and said, "You inquired about me. Did you tell me?" Chiu Lingxin swore a solemn oath and said, "Of course not." "Okay, I said it." Xiao Muling supported his forehead, very speechless. This good friend, even if she didn't say a word, she was taken in. However, there was one thing Chiu Ling didn't understand. "Mu Ling, the Xiao family has a great business, why do you want to rent a house?" Xiao Muling said truthfully, "Grandpa asked me to marry a stranger, but I didn't want to, so I moved out to live." Chiu Ling was very worried and said, "But it's not a problem for you to live outside all the time. As a girl, what should you do when facing danger?" Xiao Muling was very independent and said, "The validity period of the engagement is 10 years, and it will automatically expire in a few months. Once I regain my freedom, I can return to the Xiao family with great confidence." The next morning, when Yi Chiu woke up, Xiao Muling had already gone to work. Considering that the engagement is still a few months away, it is necessary to accelerate the process. After many inquiries, he learned that there was a fiancé working in Ocean Group. He decided to apply for the job in order to get the marriage certificate as soon as possible. It happened that Oshan was recruiting a security minister, and his monthly salary was only 5 or 6,000. But unexpectedly, there were a lot of applicants. The intention of the drunken man is not to drink, these people are all rushing towards the beautiful CEO of the company. There are at least hundreds of people in that vast land, and at least 3 days and 3 nights of interviews are needed. Yi Chio didn't have the patience to wait, but suddenly had a sudden inspiration and swaggered in. Come on. Start the interview. Yi Chio sat in the interviewer's seat and practiced her voice. The noisy waiting room quickly quieted down, and uninformed interviewees rushed to submit resumes. Don't worry, everyone. In order, the first one is Shang Qinghua. Yi Chioqiao crossed his legs and began to look through the files of the first interviewee. He came from a rural area, studied hard for many years, and graduated with a doctoral degree. Unqualified. Yi Chio picked up a pen and drew a big cross on her resume. Now, Shang Qinghua was confused. Since the interview, he didn't say a word, so why was he eliminated? Why? You have to give me a reason. Shang Qinghua asked in defiance. You still have the face to ask why. Your parents have worked hard to provide you with education, and that's how you repay them. With such a high doctoral degree, one should study how to build an atomic bomb for the country, rather than pursuing a beautiful CEO. Yi Chio scolded with a disdainful expression on his face. Shang Qinghua, who was originally filled with righteous indignation, instantly felt ashamed and ran away in a disheartened manner. Next one song. Yi Chio didn't even look at her resume, so she crossed it. Unqualified. This can make the person who breathes a sigh of relief stomp their feet. Why did you eliminate me? Why don't you give me a reason? I won't leave today. Song crossed his waist with one hand and pointed with the other finger, like a woman cursing the street. The Minister of Security wants masculinity. You're just a jerk, don't lose the company's people. Yi Chio waved her hand, not in the mood to talk too much nonsense to this sissy. Who the hell are you talking about? Song was dissatisfied, but when he turned around, the other interviewees were all covering their mouths and giggling. He couldn't bear the strange look and walked away cursing. Next, Li Yuanba. Yi Chio glanced at it and saw another big fork. Kidney deficiency, weak and uncontrollable, unqualified. As soon as these words were spoken, all the interviewees in the waiting room were dumbfounded. Li Yuanba, a famous fitness coach, has participated in octagonal cages. Even WWE on the other side of the ocean has invited him to play a performance competition. Is this physique still weak and uncontrollable? Kid, do you think I'm fake? Do you dare to arm me? Li Yuanba lifted his arm to show off his biceps, and the buttons on his shirt instantly burst. Faced with naked provocation, Yi Chio felt helpless. He originally wanted to get along as an ordinary person, but what he got in exchange was suspicion and suspicion. Okay, he's not pretending anymore, he's showing his cards. Yi Chio hooked her finger at Li Yuanba and said, okay, I'll play with you today. I don't know the vastness of heaven and earth. Li Yuanba swung his right arm and grabbed Yi Chio's hand. He was about to exert force when a sudden pain came from his arm. Puff. The competition had already ended before it even started. Li Yuanba's arm was pressed against the table and couldn't even lift it up. This. Li Yuanba was confused. The interviewees on site were all dumbfounded. You take advantage of others' danger and don't talk about martial arts. Look at me, I'm older than you, come here to deceive and launch a surprise attack. Li Yuanba is stubborn and insists on a new competition. Yi Chio shrugged her shoulders and smiled, are you still trying to persuade me, mouse tail? Don't say I'm bullying you, just use both hands together. You. Li Yuanba's teeth were clattering. He doesn't believe it anymore, he can't even control it with his own hands. Puff. Unfortunately, ideals are full and reality is bone deep. Yi Qiu just shook his wrist, and both of his hands were pressed against the table. Li Yuanba was disheartened and didn't have the face to see anyone again. He shrunk his head and walked under his crotch. In just 15 minutes, the interviewees were passed by Yi Qiu for various reasons. Finally, he was the only one left in the waiting room. At this moment, Su Nua and Mo Qianni entered one after another. They are the vice presidents of Ocean Group and the interviewers this time. Where are the interviewees? They looked around, only Yi Qiu was there. Here. Seeing two beautiful women, Yi Qiu immediately greeted them with a smile. I mean, what about the others? Su Nua is gentle and generous, with a very pleasant voice. Her graceful figure was perfectly displayed in an OL uniform. The black stockings had no charm on her, but were as friendly as the big sister next door. What the hell is going on? Compared to promises, Mo Qianni is much colder. The same uniform appeared concise and efficient on her body. That indifferent expression, as if the moon is out of tune. Two beauties, you guys are so busy with work, shouldn't I help you share some of the burden? Just now, those interviewees' abilities and levels were average. I screened them around and persuaded them to leave. In a few words, Yi Qiu briefly described the situation just now. Mo Qianni's pretty face was cold and she flew into a rage. Who gave you the power? It's just nonsense. On the contrary, he made a promise and remained calm. Not bad, not bad. You are the talent we need. Su Nua greatly appreciates Yi Qiu's ability to think in reverse. In her opinion, the interview should be so unrestricted. Sister Nua, isn't it suitable? Mo Qianni didn't understand the promised decision very well. From Yi Qiu's body, she couldn't see any shining points. The two were deadlocked, and in the end, the decision could only be left to the company president. On weekdays, Xiao Muling does not interfere in the personnel recruitment of Ocean Group. But today she wants to see who the interviewees who can cause disagreements among their colleagues are. Opening the crumpled resume in her file bag, she was so angry that she almost vomited blood. Name: Yi Qiu. Hobbies: female blood type. Square political appearance. Charm and charm, jade trees facing the wind skill. The food below is super delicious specialty. 20 centimeters, not only long, but also very thick personal honors. Another bottle of iced black tea, another bottle of iced green tea. Chapter 4. Insider. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. What a scoundrel. This kind of person will never be hired. Xiao Muling was very angry and directly tore up his resume to pieces. Mr. Xiao, there are no other candidates for the interview besides him. Although he's funny, he's very clever. Please consider it again. Promise to truthfully disclose the background of Yi Qiu's persuasion to withdraw the interviewee just now. After hesitating for a while, Xiao Muling decided to interview in person. She wants to see what the origin of Yi Qiu is. 5 minutes later, Yi Qiu came in casually with a toothpick in her mouth. How? How is it you? Xiao Muling widened his eyes, full of disbelief. This world is too small. Ha! Big white circle. Yi Qiu was also surprised. He only heard that the president of Ocean Group was as beautiful as a fairy. Unexpectedly, he saw all of Xiao Muling last night. What big white circle, this is our general manager Xiao. Mo Qianni scolded in a coquettish voice, gesturing for Yi Qiufang to show respect. The great white circle is. Yi Qiu suddenly grinned and her eyes became ambiguous. Shut up. Without waiting for Yi Qiu to explain the profound meaning of big white circle, Xiao Muling immediately spoke up to stop it. Although she kept telling herself to stay calm, her pretty face was still flushed with embarrassment. Su Nua and Mo Qianni had some doubts and said, Mr. Xiao, do you know each other? Yi Qiu blurted out, of course I do. She took a shower last night, and I even handed her the contents. Xiao Muling became anxious and quickly got up. Okay, you're the head of the security department. You'll start taking office today. In order to prevent Yi Qiu from running the train with his mouth full, Xiao Muling could only resort to this desperation. Okay. Yi Qiu immediately covered her mouth and succeeded. Now, Su Noa and Mo Qianni were even more puzzled by Master Zhang Er. Before they could ask, Xiao Muling waved his hand and said, "You guys go out first." Soon, only Xiao Muling and Yi Qiu were left in the office. I advise you not to have any ulterior motives, I don't have time to play with you. Xiao Muling only came for an interview as Yi Qiu, it was purely a prank. Yi Qiu shrugged her shoulders. Where are you going? My fiancée is in Ocean Group. I'm looking for her. What? Fiancée Xiao Muling furrowed her eyebrows and her heart thumped for a moment. It can't be that coincidental, can it? In order to dispel his doubts, Xiao Muling quickly asked, what is your fiancée's name? Yi Qiu shook her head and said, I don't know. But soon he added, I only know that she comes from a wealthy and affluent family, with a stunning appearance and a curvaceous figure. As soon as these words were spoken, Xiao Muling blushed to the bottom of his ear and became even more nervous. In terms of family background, the Xiao family is located in Gusu, and can be considered a name. In terms of appearance, she may not be described as stunning, but she can definitely be considered beautiful and generous. In terms of body shape, her big white and round is not just a name for herself, it is indeed a front convex and back curved appearance. Is it difficult? This guy is his fiancée whom he has never met before. Just as Xiao Muling's heart was beating faster, Yi Qiu spoke up again, oh by the way, my fiancée still loves me very much and is completely devoted to me, crying and begging me to marry her. So that's it, that's good. Xiao Muling breathed a sigh of relief and suddenly let go of his suspended heart. She had never met her fiancé before, so she was determined not to talk about it. She cried and begged to get married, but it was impossible to talk about it. Just as Xiao Muling was secretly celebrating, a phone call suddenly came in. Recently, Ocean Group is bidding for official support projects, and Xiao Muling is confident. However, news came from the bidding site that Ocean's reserve price was leaked and the bidding failed. After hanging up the phone, Xiao Muling's face became increasingly gloomy. Ocean's offer is only known to her. Why was she cut off? Yi Qiu heard the call and pursed his lips, saying, some people have been sold and even paid for the number of people. Xiao Muling was already in a bad mood and became even angrier. What do you mean, Schadenfreude? Yi Qiu stopped being insincere and said, Ocean has a mole, and this eyeliner is right beside you. Xiao Muling was suddenly startled and his expression was very serious. It's impossible. Yi Qiu reminded, think carefully, who can freely enter and exit your office on a regular basis. Xiao Muling's eyebrows furrowed deeper and deeper, and only Su Noa and Mo Qianni were usually close to her. As the vice president of the company, the two have been following her for many years and it is impossible for them to betray her. If I'm not mistaken, those two beauties were the most suspected just now. Seeing that Xiao Muling remained silent, Yi Qiu took the initiative to speak. Leave it to me, I'll catch her. As the new official took office, Yi Qiu volunteered as the Minister of Security. Xiao Muling was about to stop, but Su Noa and Mo Qianni had already been called into the office. Yi Qiu was not at all polite and directly stated that one of the two was an insider. Mr. Xiao, I've been with you for many years, not me. Mo Qianni's expression is calm, she doesn't do anything wrong and is not afraid of ghosts knocking on the door. Mr. Xiao, it's not me either. You know my character. Su Noa is very loyal to Xiao Muling, which is evident throughout the company. Yi Qiu had already guessed that the two would not easily admit, "Is it you? Just check the surveillance footage." However, Su Noa and Mo Qianni shook their heads at the same time and said, "The control room host is broken, and all the recordings from these days are gone." Originally, Xiao Muling thought that Yi Qiu was suspicious, but upon learning that all the surveillance footage had been damaged, she suddenly realized that there might be something suspicious about this. Since she joined Oshan, there has been no problem in the monitoring room. Why did the host break down when the bottom price was revealed this time? Are there really so many coincidences in the world? I'm afraid not entirely. It is very likely that someone intentionally damaged it in order to leave no evidence. But now the question arises, the fact that surveillance damage has become an established fact, how can we uncover the mole? Just as Xiao Muling was pondering, Yi Qiu waved his hand at her, gesturing for her to make way. Isn't it just that the surveillance footage was lost? It's a piece of cake. Yi Qiu opened Xiao Muling's computer and connected it to the host in the monitoring room. Fingers quickly tapped the keyboard, typing out long codes. In less than half a minute, all the surveillance footage lost a few days ago will be restored. Xiao Muling's beautiful eyes widened in disbelief. A person cannot be judged by their appearance, and the sea cannot be measured. She thought Yi Qiu was running a train with his mouth full, but she didn't expect he really had some skills. Let's take a look. Yi Qiu selected 2 videos and already had an answer in her heart. From the surveillance footage, it can be seen that both Su Noa and Mo Qianni have entered the CEO's office. Just promised to come in at 10 o'clock in the morning, while Mo Qianni entered at midnight. Xiao Muling's gaze immediately locked onto Mo Qianni. "Mr. Xiao, I swear, it's really not me." Mo Qianni bit her lower lip tightly, her expression very complicated. Xiao Muling didn't want to believe it was her, but surveillance cameras couldn't deceive anyone. Entering her office is not a problem, but at this time of the night, it is already easy to be suspicious. "Mr. Xiao," Qianni was momentarily confused. "Please give her another chance." Promise to keep saying good things for Mo Qianni, hoping that Xiao Muling can be lenient. There are national laws and regulations, and no one can deviate from them. Xiao Muling clenched his fist tightly, struggling in his heart. However, as the president of Oshan Group, she must be responsible for the company. Just as she was about to announce the punishment result, Yi Qiu interjected, "Wait, I didn't say that the mole was Vice President Mo." Xiao Muling stared at Yi Qiu with an uncertain expression. "What do you mean? It was you who just showed the surveillance footage, and now it's also you who's trying to smooth things out." "What I mean is, there is another person inside the ghost, and that person is she." Yi Qiu suddenly turned around and pointed to Su Nuo. The reversal came too fast, and Xiao Muling was a bit confused. "Which one did you sing when you repeatedly jumped horizontally from left to right?" Vice President Su treats people kindly, putting the company first and never being her. In Xiao Muling's impression, Su Noa has never had a heated argument with anyone, so how could he be an insider? "That's right, it's her." Yi Qiu pointed to the surveillance again. "You see, although Vice President Mo entered the office in the middle of the night, he was very generous, without any concealment or guilt. On the other hand, Vice President Su, although he entered the office in the morning, he looked around before entering, afraid that others would see him." After Yi Qiu's suggestion, Xiao Muling immediately noticed this detail. The act of being a thief with a guilty heart and promising to look around is too abrupt and cautious. Who doesn't know my loyalty to Oshan? Based on this strange coincidence, do you think I am an insider? Pay attention to evidence in everything, believe it or not, I will sue you for defamation. Su Noa began to regret admitting Yi Qiu. She helped to recommend, but this bastard turned the tables on him. If I had known about the interview process, I should have passed him directly. Want evidence? Okay, I'll make you convinced. Yi Qiu had long guessed that Su Noa would not plead guilty, and he even left a backup. Chapter 5. White skin, beautiful appearance, big long legs. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Vice President Su, did you come into the office to sneak a peek at the project quotation? Unfortunately, you were too careless and left your fingerprints in a hurry. The appraisal department of the Police Detention Center has provided feedback that the fingerprint overlap rate between you and the contract is as high as 100%. Yi Chiu stared at Su Noa and paused word by word. Impossible. I'm wearing gloves. Su Noa's nerves were tense, and he instinctively blurted out. Little did they know that in a highly tense state, they fell into Yi Chiu's trap. There's no fingerprint identification, it's all fabricated by him. It was purely to scare the promise and make her show her true colors. I didn't expect Su Noa to lose his composure and confess to himself without hesitation. Yi Chiu chased fiercely and said, "Are you wearing gloves? Are you admitting that you stole a look at the quotation contract?" Su Noa suddenly realized that he had been deceived and was so angry that he almost gritted his teeth. Damn it, you fooled me. Yi Chiu shrugged his shoulders and said, "Soldiers never tire of deceit. Who made you have such poor psychological resilience? You've recruited all of them before questioning." Xiao Muling, who originally had a glimmer of hope, felt completely disheartened and said, "Promise, you really disappoint me." Over the years, she has always regarded Promises as her confidant, but in the end, she ended up with heartless betrayal. Alarm. Xiao Muling is not the Virgin Mary, indicating to Mo Qianni to report to the police. Leaking company secrets is an economic crime and can also result in imprisonment. In no time, Su Noa was handcuffed and taken away. But strangely, she didn't ask for mercy from beginning to end. Even looking at Xiao Muling with a sympathetic gaze. Soon, the office quieted down again. Xiao Muling furrowed her eyebrows and recalled everything that had just happened. She found that Yi Chiu looked carefree, but in reality, she was hiding it. In order to clarify the details, she immediately contacted her friends at the archives office. 3 minutes later, Yi Chiu's personal profile was transmitted to her phone. The detention records section was densely packed with several sheets of paper. Sneaking at top-notch young women taking showers, wiping oil on black long straight big girls, sexually harassing beautiful little loli, big rascal. The little favor that Xiao Muling had just accumulated dissipated in an instant. At this point, on the other side, there is the security office. Yi Chiu is comparing the personal information of all female employees and searching for his fiancée AE. This cheekbone is too high, Kafu, definitely not. The buttocks are not round, the legs are short, and the waist is thick, definitely not. This pitiful little chest, who can't bear to suffer the child. It must be even worse. Yi Chiu screened around but couldn't find any that met the criteria. He heard that his 7 fiancées were all stunning beauties. The only Ocean who can deserve the title of beauty are Xiao Muling and Mo Qianni. Is it difficult, is it one of them? Yi Chiu frowned and felt it was unlikely. Both of them are as cold as an iceberg, how could there be any intention of getting married? Yi Chiu thought that instead of making random guesses here, it would be better to actively seek other targets. He found out that he had a fiancée AE at Gusu University, who was fair-skinned, beautiful, and had long legs. So on his first day at work, he put aside his responsibilities and stumbled to Gusu University. Enron, I love you. At the school gate, a boy is kneeling on one knee holding a rose to confess his love. Sorry, I have an urgent matter, please make way. The girl is driving a pink Maserati, with a delicate and charming appearance, gentle and charming. Her fair skin feels like it has been soaked in milk, and her watery big eyes are pure and lively. Yi Chiu stopped to admire the beautiful women while also taking a look at the excitement. Enron, this is my 99th confession, please accept me. Wei Shihao pulled out a pigeon egg diamond ring, which weighed 4 carats. He is the top second-generation wealthy person in Suzhou and has always been obsessed with the school flower Anran. Sorry, I don't feel anything for you. Anran refused very decisively. She just wanted to hurry home and visit her seriously ill grandfather as soon as possible. No. I don't believe it. Wei Shihao is like a dog skin ointment, but he doesn't give way. You. Anran stomped her feet anxiously, and in order to make Wei Shihao completely give up, she could only exaggerate. I have a fiancé, he is 100 times better than you. Wei Shihao remained unmoved and said, so what if you have a fiancé? Even if you have a goalkeeper, you won't be allowed to shoot. As long as you're my girlfriend, I'll make you happy for a lifetime. Upon hearing this, Yi Qiu couldn't help but burst out laughing and jokingly said, how do you give her sexual pleasure? With chopsticks or cucumbers? Who? Wei Shihao was very dissatisfied with the sudden laughter. He glared angrily and asked sharply, what do you mean? What I mean is, you can't do it, Yi Qiupi said with a smile. Wei Shihao became anxious and said, what are you saying, I can't do it? Yi Qiu nodded and said, yes, you have kidney deficiency. As soon as these words were spoken, Wei Shihao was clearly in chaos. You fart. I'm in great health. 7 times a night, the golden spear won't fall, with ease. Wei Shihao deliberately raised his voice to conceal his panic. The more it is like this, the more it indicates that he is feeling guilty. Brother, your eyes are swollen and lifeless, your hair is sparse and yellowish, which is a typical case of kidney deficiency. If I'm not mistaken, you still suffer from insomnia, frequent dreaming, hot flashes, and frequent sweating, making you restless and restless. In order to stimulate yourself and satisfy your cravings, you definitely watch the island country's love action movies frequently. Let's communicate and exchange ideas. Among so many female teachers, do you like Yuya, Yakai, or Yejie? Yi Qiu sneered with a smile that was harmless to humans and animals, suitable for all ages. The truth was exposed, and Wei Shihao felt his face turn pale. Nonsense doesn't make sense. In order not to embarrass himself in public, he quickly denied it. And those female teachers you mentioned, I don't even know them. Wei Shihao's mouth was stiff and he disguised himself as a pure little otaku. Yi Qiu smiled slightly and continued, they don't know each other. Feng, you must have heard of them, right? Wei Shihao was suddenly surprised and said, what? Feng Jia also makes that kind of movie. As soon as he blurted out these words, Wei Shihao realized he had been tricked. He clenched his fists with a gurgling sound and warned, don't cause trouble, otherwise you'll look good. After speaking harshly, Wei Shihao knelt down on one knee again and confessed to Anran with deep affection, my dear, I will use my life to protect you. For you, I can go up the mountain of swords and down the sea of fire. Pushi. Yi Qiu couldn't help but laugh again. He could tell at a glance that Wei Shihao was a cowardly rat. If Anran really encounters some danger, this guy will probably have run away long ago. Kid, did you drink cat urine? I'm sorry, why do you keep interrupting? If you make any more noise, I'll kill you. Wei Shihao was completely furious and punched Yi Qiu. Shoo. Yi Qiu made a silent gesture, gesturing for Wei Shihao to shut up. Later, he pointed to Anran's Maserati. Wei Shihao didn't know what medicine was sold in Yi Qiuhua. He was about to get angry, but he vaguely heard a voice. Dida. He approached Maserati cautiously and pulled something out of the chassis. Without looking or knowing, Wei Shihao was startled and suddenly collapsed to the ground. Bomb. Help. Without even thinking, Wei Shihao immediately stuffed the bomb into Anran's hand, spread his feet, and ran away. And at this moment, Anran had already been frightened and her face had turned pale. Her legs were weak and her whole body trembled, unsure of what to do. On the other hand, Yi Qiu had a calm expression. He lifted his hand and brought Wei Shihao back. Where were you just going from Mount Dao to the Sea of Fire? You're really ruthless, leaving her alone. The countdown to the bomb is still 1 minute away, and Yi Qiu is not at all panicked. Are you his mother sick? I'm dying. Can I care for her? Wei Shihao cursed and ran out without looking back. The students around were also scattered like birds and animals, sliding away from each other. And Ran's tears were in her eyes, urging Yi Qiu to leave. Danger, you go. Yi Qiu had no intention of leaving, but instead asked with concern, I'm leaving, what will you do? As soon as these words were spoken, and Ran's defense was completely shattered, tears like broken pearls. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Yi Qiu patted Ran's shoulder and comforted her. With 10 seconds left in the countdown, he picked up the bomb. Using the technique of a butterfly piercing through flowers, the bomb is directly dismantled. As the red wire was cut, the timer stopped for a second. Chapter 6. River and Lake Scammers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this moment, Anren had already closed her eyes tightly and was ready to die. I waited for a full half-minute without any intention of exploding. When she opened her eyes again, she found that Yi Qiu had already walked away. Uncle, wait. Anren hurried over and grabbed Yi Qiu's sleeve. Uncle, thank you for saving my life. Anren was grateful with tears in her eyes, her large watery eyes filled with tears. Yi Qiu looked indifferent and said, You don't need to thank me. It's about moving your fingers. But soon he realized, Wait, what are you calling me, uncle? I'm so old. Anren realized she had made a mistake and tilted her head to spit out her fragrant tongue. She changed her voice and said, Brother, you heard me wrong. I was clearly calling out, Big brother. Looking at the youthful and lively little loli in front of her, Yi Qiu nodded with satisfaction, that's pretty much the same. As a gesture of gratitude, Ran immediately said, Brother, feel free to mention anything you want, I can satisfy you. Yi Qiutai was also polite and joked, I want you, can I? Ah. Ran was momentarily stunned, and then her pretty face turned red with a quick rub. She shyly lowered her small head and tightly gripped the hem of her skirt, feeling very nervous. Yi Qiu couldn't help but laugh and said, All right, I'm just teasing you. Why do you take it seriously? Oh, that's it. Anren raised her head, feeling a little disappointed. But recalling just now when Yi Qiu saw through Wei Shihao's kidney deficiency, she immediately asked, Do you understand medical skills? Yi Qiu is not humble either, but speaks the truth truthfully, I have a slight understanding of one or two. Really? Ran's watery eyes lit up again. Can you please treat Grandpa? His health is getting worse and I don't want him to leave me. Yi Qiu paused for a moment and replied, It's possible, but you also have to do me a favor. Anren didn't even consider it and immediately agreed, Just say it, as long as I can do it, I will do my best. Yi Qiu brought up the matter and said, I have a fiancée AE at Gusu University, and I need you to help me inquire about her news. 15 minutes later, the two of them arrived at the courtyard of the Deng family. Before they could enter the ward, a group of people suddenly surged in outside the room. I have invited the divine Dr. Saihuatua, Grandpa is saved. Angel, the granddaughter of An's parents, held her head high and proudly gestured for everyone to move away. I have invited the divine Dr. Gai Bianc, who guarantees to cure my grandfather. Anjia's second granddaughter Anshin is relatively calm and not as flamboyant as her cousin Angel. As is well known, the famous doctors in Suzhou, Saihuatua and Gai Bianc, have the highest medical skills. In recent years, there has been a constant stream of discussions about who is the top leader in Sumen between them. Ha! Enron, how did you come back? Seeing her cousin appear, Anshin was very surprised, and the panic in her eyes flashed away. Enron, where's the doctor you hired? Grandpa usually loves you the most. Do you want to face death without saving yourself? Angel glared angrily at Enran and questioned. I. Enran lowered her bow, her expression somewhat struggling. The two cousins invited renowned divine doctors from afar, but what she brought was only an unknown barefoot village doctor. After hesitating for a few seconds, Enran looked up and replied, I also hired a doctor, his name is Yi Qiu. Angel looked up and down at Yi Qiu a few times, full of disdain, and said, You've never heard of that scammer from every corner. Anshin also frowned and was very dissatisfied. Enran, don't make things worse. Why do all the cats and dogs come home? Faced with the disdain of the two cousins, Enran was very unhappy and said, Yi Qiu is not a fraud, let alone a cat or a dog. He really knows medical skills. Sai Huatua and Gai Bianc on the side only glanced at Yi Qiu and did not consider him a competitor. The two of them urged for the gimmick of competing for the top spot in Summon, don't leave your mark. Time is money, take us inside to see the patients. Soon, a group of people entered Nguyao's ward, and Enran wanted to follow in, but was stopped. Helpless, she could only guard outside with a dejected expression. Yi Qiu looked at everything and whispered, Don't worry, with me around, you won't lose. Ah. Enran was stunned for a moment before saying, I don't want to win against them, I just want Grandpa to be okay. However, not long after, Sai Huatua and Gai Bianc came out of the hospital room listlessly. Enlao's illness is incurable, and I'm afraid it's difficult for immortals to save him. The two of them worked together, but still couldn't find the cause of the Angua medicine. The atmosphere in the entire Anjia courtyard is very oppressive. Enran's watery eyes were filled with tears and he didn't want to give up. Two divine doctors, please try again. Sai Huatua and Gai Bianc shook their heads, Enlao's fate is at an end, and we are truly powerless and powerless. As soon as these words were spoken, Enran cried with tears. Angel and Anshin on the side also pretended to squeeze a few tears. At a critical moment, An Yuancheng, the eldest son of An family, suddenly stood up and leaned towards the hospital bed. Dad, what else do you need to explain? It can be seen that An Yuan, who is anxious, wants to become the new head of the family. Dad, if you have any plans, I'll listen to you. An Yuan Gong, the second son of An family, couldn't hold his breath anymore and urgently asked. Angel and Anshin also gathered around, waiting for Nguiyao to give their last words. On the other hand, Enran and his father and Yuan Feng have not given up yet, while the father and daughter are still pleading with Sai Huatua and Gai Bianc to come up with a solution. Cough, cough, cough. Unexpectedly, Nguiyao, whose face was pale on the hospital bed, did not explain his affairs to his eldest and second sons. He waved at An Yuan Peak and Anran in the distance, struggling to utter a few words, Come here, I have something to say. The father and daughter wiped away the tears from the corners of their eyes and immediately half knelt by the bed. Nguiyao tightly grasped their hands and said, After I leave, the An family will be handed over to your father and daughter. As soon as the old man said these words, An Yuan instantly became furious and said, Dad, are you sick and confused? I am the eldest son of An's family. Angel followed her father and Yuancheng and agreed, Grandpa, I am the granddaughter of An's parents. You can't be so biased. Seeing the boss take the initiative, An Yuan was not willing to fall behind and said, Dad, I have been taking care of settling down for these years. You have a smooth bowl of water. Anshin means taking out all the household books and saying, Grandpa, I have been helping you with your accounts since I was young. Even without credit, there will be hard work. Nguiyao on the hospital bed watched as one by one competed for credit, his cloudy eyes filled with disappointment. I'm not dead yet, so you want to rebel. In the future, the third father and daughter will have the final say in this family. Although Nguiyao was critically ill, his mind was clear-headed and he knew which of his children and grandchildren was genuinely treating him well. I don't agree. Why? I don't agree either. Who are they? An Yuancheng and An Yuangong became angry and ashamed, and no longer concealed their wolf-like ambitions. Yi Qiu, who had been in a stalemate for a long time, suddenly stood up and said, "Old man, you are in good health and can live 100 years. And Guiyao struggled to squeeze out a smile and said, "Little friend, don't comfort me anymore. Both divine doctors said that my life is not long, and I accept it." Yi Qiu pouted and said, "Their medical skills are very average. They're just fishing for fame and reputation. The person I want to stay with, even the king of hell can't take them away." Sai Huatua and Gai Bianc instantly became angry. "Our medical skills are not yet up to you, you little rascal, to point fingers and make mistakes. Over the years, we have treated more patients than you have seen in your lifetime." Yi Qiu shrugged his shoulders and replied, "You two are both soft all over, but your mouth is hard. Is it so difficult to admit that you can't do it?" Speaking, Yi Qiu was ready to give Nguiyao a pulse. But at this moment, Angel and Anshin suddenly stopped him and said, "Where did you come from? Do you have a medical qualification certificate?" Yi Qiushan shrugged and said truthfully, "No, there isn't." Angel and Anshin immediately vented their anger and said to Anren, "Look at the scammer you brought. You don't even have a medical qualification certificate. Do you want Grandpa to die faster?" Anran was very aggrieved and muttered in a mosquito-like voice, "Yi Qiu really understands medical skills. Grandpa has already done this, let him give it a try." But Angel and Anshin didn't listen to any explanation at all, and rushed Yi Qiu like a beggar. "Get out of here now, or we'll call the police." "Wait." At a critical moment, Nguiyao lying on the hospital bed suddenly spoke out. "Little friend, I'm just a dying person and I don't have any hope anymore. Come and give it a try." Chapter 7. 5-Flower Poison. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Yi Qiu felt his pulse slightly, took out the silver needle he carried, put it on the alcohol lamp for disinfection, and prepared to give acupuncture and moxibustion to Nguiyao. Now, Sai Huatua and Gai Bianc couldn't sit still. "Young man, if you can't cure Lao, you must apologize to us." "What if I'm cured?" Yi Qiu retorted. Sai Huatua and Gai Bianc raised their heads and said, "If you can cure it, we promise you any conditions." Yi Qiu nodded contentedly and said, "With a word from the gentleman and a whip from the horse, you two should take a look." At the beginning, Sai Huatua and Gai Bianc were still holding their hands in front of them, ready to watch Yi Qiu joke. As the silver needle quickly and accurately penetrated into each acupoint of Nguiyao, their expressions instantly changed. They have been practicing medicine for many years, and have never seen such exquisite and unparalleled needle application techniques. Acupuncture should be applied to Feng Men, Higu, and Zusanli acupoints according to the symptoms, and the needle should be in place. What's even more rare is that Yi Qiu never shook her hands from beginning to end, possessing a calm and composed demeanor that none of them at their age possess. "Sai Shini, Gai Shini, what's the situation?" Angel and Anshin noticed something was wrong and immediately inquired. Sai Huatua and Gai Bianc furrowed their brows for a long time before holding back a few words. "This son is definitely not an ordinary person." As soon as these words were spoken, the faces of an Yuancheng and an Yuangong became particularly ugly. The two brothers are well aware that once their father Nguiyao recovers, the position of head of the family will be completely lost to them. Cough, cough, cough. Accompanied by a burst of coughing, Nguiyao suddenly spat out a few mouthfuls of black blood. Anren was very worried and quickly patted her back, saying, "Grandpa, what's wrong with you?" Nguiyao wiped away the residual blood from the corner of his mouth and said, "I feel much better and my breathing has become particularly smooth." Not only that, Nguiyao's originally pale face gradually regained its color, just like an ordinary person. Yi Qiu took off the silver needle and wiped her hands, saying, "It's not a big deal anymore. The poison has already been forced out. Just rest for a few days." After explaining everything, he turned to look at Sai Huatua and Gai Bianc and said, "Two divine doctors, are our previous bets still valid?" Sai Huatua and Guy Bianc have been famous for many years, and their face is more important than anything else. Young man, tell me what you want us to do. Yi Qiu did not deliberately make things difficult for them. From now on, can you two treat the poor for free? Sai Huatua and Guy Bianc nodded without any consideration and said, okay. However, the two seemed to have some doubts. Young man, what did you just say about yourself? Yi Qiu didn't hide it and said, if you don't change your name or surname, Yi Qiu. What? Sai Huatua and Guy Bianc suddenly widened their eyes in shock. Are you the closed-door disciple of the old military doctor? Yi Qiu nodded without hesitation. Now, the Anjia courtyard has completely exploded. The old military doctor is a divine physician of Dahua. With his 18 injections of resurrection, he can save those who have fallen to the grave for safety. Unexpectedly, this unknown young man was his disciple who closed the door. The medical world has always emphasized the importance of being a master. Sai Huatua and Guy Bianc immediately bowed their bodies and bowed to Yi Qiu. And Yuanqing was a personal genius and quickly grasped Yi Qiu's hand, saying, little friend, may I know if you have a marriage? Yi Qiu shook off his hand and replied, no. At the moment of An Yuan's establishment, he gave his daughter Angel a look and said, my precious daughter is very outstanding in her childhood. You can make friends. An Yuan Qingxin had many eyes and knew that Yi Qiu was the disciple of the divine doctor who closed the door, so he wanted his daughter to surround him. Angel, aware of her father's good intentions, quickly straightened her pride and showed Yi Qiu her perfect career path. Little friend, my family is also outstanding at Anshin. Can you add a WeChat account? Unwilling to fall behind, An Yuan quickly pushed his daughter to Yi Qiu with peace of mind. With peace of mind and understanding, she twisted her small waist to showcase her graceful and charming figure. However, Yi Qiu refused decisively, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in either of them. This wasn't over yet, he looked at Enron again and asked half jokingly and half seriously, do you have a boyfriend? Enran's face turned red in an instant, and she lowered her head and pursed her delicate pink lips, feeling uneasy and uneasy. Seeing his daughter's confusion, and Yuanfeng spoke up, thank you for your love for my daughter, but she is already engaged. Yi Qiu didn't feel too disappointed and responded generously, I'll just ask casually, don't think too much. After finishing speaking, Yi Qiu was about to leave, but just as he was about to leave the ward, he suddenly stopped. And Lao, there are two things I need to remind you of. The poison in you is not ingested by mistake, but by the people around you. As soon as these words were spoken, Nguyao's gaze swept over the crowd. You can see that two people are unusually panicked. But Nguyao did not notice, little friend, please make it clear. Yi Qiu pointed to Yuanqing and Qi and said firmly, it's these father and daughter who poisoned you. You fart. You're speechless. The father and daughter denied it and threatened to sue Yi Qiu for defamation. Nguyao also had some disbelief and said, little friend, why do you think it's them? Yi Qiu said calmly, it's very simple. If something happens to you, they, as the eldest son and granddaughter, will be the biggest beneficiaries. And Yuanqing was dissatisfied and said, based solely on this, do you believe it's me? If you have the ability, you can provide evidence. Yi Qiu had long guessed that he wouldn't admit it and continued, and Lao's poison is the 5-flower poison, which is a combination of 5 western regions' poisonous flowers. I just passed by your father and daughter's courtyard and found that these flowers are growing very well. 1 second ago, and Yuanqing and Qi swore to the death not to recognize each other, but the next second, they suddenly felt disheartened. The father and daughter didn't expect that Yi Qiu could tell at a glance that Nguyao was poisoned by the 5-flower poison. Nguyao, who learned the truth, was furious and said, you rebellious son, what else do you have to explain? And Yuanqing and Qi knelt down on the ground with a burst of tears and said, Dad, we were wrong. Please spare our father and daughter this time. My family's shame cannot be exposed. Sai Huatua and Gai Bianc are still on the field, and Nguyen can only grit his teeth and say, "I'll settle accounts with you later." Quickly, he asked again, "Little friend, you said you have two things to remind me of, and what is the other one?" Yi Chio's face gradually darkened and he said, "Just half an hour ago, someone installed a bomb in Enron's car and wanted to kill her." "What?" Without waiting for Nguyen to speak out, and Yuan Feng suddenly erupted into a rage. "Who harmed my daughter? I'll fight him hard." And Yuan Feng was furious and stared at An Yuancheng as a father and daughter. Angel quickly waved her hand and distanced herself, saying, "It's not us, we didn't do anything." And Yuan Feng didn't believe it. "Who else would it be if it weren't for you? Your father and daughter are really losing their conscience over the family property." On the side, An Yuangong and an Xian followed suit and fell into the well, saying, "You two are poisoning Dad and killing and ran. It's almost inhumane." "No, it's really not us." An Yuancheng and An Qi are both about to cry for their grievances. They acknowledge the act of poisoning, but where did the bomb incident start? An Guiyao was very disappointed with his eldest son and granddaughter. "You don't need to argue any more now," he said, but at this moment, Yi Chio spoke again, "It's not the two of them, there's someone else who wants to be detrimental to Enron." An Guiyao was puzzled and said, "Little friend, it's not them, who else would it be?" Yi Chio suddenly turned around, his gaze fixed on An Yuangong and An Xian, they father and daughter. Chapter 8. These two women don't seem like good people. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. An Yuangong and Anshin were stunned on the spot. The father and daughter were very guilty, their eyes kept dodging. An Guiyao frowned and asked, "Little friend, what does this mean? I'm getting more and more confused." Yi Chio didn't rush to dispel his doubts, but instead asked, "An Lao, among the three granddaughters, who do you love the most?" An Guiyao didn't understand what Yi Chio was asking, but he truthfully told him, "There's no need to ask, of course it's my granddaughter and ran." Yi Chio continued to guide, "Secondly, what?" After hesitating for a few seconds, An Guiyao slowly spoke up, "That's peace of mind." Yi Chio shrugged and said, "That's it. If An Ran has an accident, all of An's property will belong to her." As soon as these words were spoken, An Guiyao instantly reacted. Yes, if Anran encounters an unexpected situation, the biggest beneficiary is Anshin. Second, you father and daughter are really vicious. Let's just blow up Enron and let me take the blame for you. An Yuan's eyes were about to crack, and he began to bite the dog. "Grandpa, don't listen to him talk nonsense, I don't have it. Calm down and deny your actions. If it weren't for you, why were you so surprised when you just returned home safely?" Yi Chio pressed forward step by step. Anshin is speechless for a moment. When she saw Enron earlier, she was indeed very anxious. "I didn't expect such a small detail to be caught by the sharp-eyed Yi Chio." On the other hand, An Yuangong is much more calm than his daughter, and he is not at all upset when facing Yi Chio's accusations. "Kid, these are just your guesses. Have you seen them with your own eyes? Catching thieves and loot, catching traitors and catching doubles, and Yuan Gong predicts that Yi Chio cannot grasp substantial evidence." "Yes. I was falsely accused." Anshin immediately lifted his head and turned it upside down. "Evidence." Yi Chio smiled slightly. "You two have to think about it. Admitting it now can still be considered surrender. If I point it out, then you will be attempting murder." And Yuangong snorted coldly and said, "Kid, if you want to deceive me, you're still a bit too young. If you have any evidence, take it out." Yi Chio let out a long sigh and said, "You don't shed tears until you see the coffin. Okay, then I'll fulfill your small request." I saw Yi Chio suddenly turn around and walk outside the courtyard, pointing to Enron's Maserati. "Don't you know yet? The latest version of Maserati President uses dual dash cams. In addition to the one inside the car that was destroyed by you, there is also a hidden ultra-clear front and rear dual-camera recorder at the rear of the car. You took advantage of Enron's lack of attention and secretly installed bombs, all of which were captured by this mini recorder. As soon as these words were spoken, Enron's huge watery eyes suddenly lit up. Yes, how could she forget this? For safety reasons, Maserati's headquarters has specially equipped the latest President with dual dash cams. What? An Yuangong and an Xian furrowed their brows and became disorganized. The father and daughter never expected it, but they still missed out. As soon as the driving recorder was connected, the scene of two people sneakily installing bombs appeared. Anren shook her little head, unable to believe her own eyes. Uncle Air, you are too ruthless. She was kind-hearted and never thought that her loved ones would kill her. You crazy and rebellious child, how could you do such a thing? Cough cough cough. Angry and anxious, and Guiyao began to cough violently again. Yi Qiu quickly administered the needle and said, "And Lao, your body has not yet fully recovered, so you cannot be angry." And Guiyao calmed down and sighed, "Our family is unfortunate, let the kid see a joke." However, Yi Qiu shook her head and comforted, "And Lao, how can you say that your family is unfortunate if you have such a good granddaughter as Enran? If it weren't for her engagement, I would have wanted to be your grandson. Law." As soon as these words were spoken, Enran quickly lowered her head shyly, tightly grasping the hem of her clothes with her small hands. Her pretty face blushed and she could squeeze out water. And Guiyao, who was originally feeling depressed, suddenly felt a lot of joy in his heart. He smiled and said, "You and I have thought of going together. If it weren't for Enran's fiancé, you two would have had a wedding tomorrow." Ah! Yi Qiu was suddenly startled. He just joked and comforted the old man, why did he take it seriously? Fortunately, Enran had an engagement with him, otherwise he would have become the son-in-law who came to visit the village. "And Lao, I still have something important to attend to. Let's take a step first." The more Yi Qiu thought about it, the more things went wrong and he prepared to leave. What if later, and Guiyao will marry Angel and Anshin to him again? Those two women don't look like good people. Little friend, wait. And Guiyao struggled to get up and grabbed Yi Qiu. He changed his expression, and the nearby and Yuanfeng quickly understood. A little thank you, no respect. And Yuanfeng took out a shining bank card and handed it to Yi Qiu. "You're too polite, why are you so embarrassed?" Yi Qiu said no, but her hand was very honest as she opened her pocket. "He's worried about not getting his rent for this month, isn't that why he's here?" Ha ha ha. Little friend, in the future, when you are old and useful, just speak up. And Guiyao and Yi Qiu fell in love at first sight, their eyes filled with admiration. Okay, Yi Qiu readily agreed. After Yi Qiu left, the Anjia courtyard gradually quieted down. Anren stayed by my grandfather's side, hesitating to speak and hesitating to speak. And Guiyao looked in his eyes and said, "Xiao Anren, are you interested in Yi Xiaoyu?" As soon as these words were spoken, Anren quickly panicked and denied, "No, that's not it." And Guiyao smiled kindly and said, "Your fiancé is also excellent. It seems like he has already retired and returned to China." When it comes to her fiancé, Anren pouted with a complicated expression and said, "Grandpa, can we cancel the engagement once the 10-year marriage period comes?" After hesitating for a few seconds, Guiyao nodded and said, "In theory, that's the case." Anren, who was originally somewhat disappointed, rekindled her hopes in her beautiful eyes, thinking that if her engagement was terminated, she could choose the person she liked. "As far as I know, your fiancé comes from a military background, and military marriage is protected and cannot be easily withdrawn," and Guiyao said with a knife, "Ah." Anren puffed up her fragrant cheeks, feeling aggrieved like a doormat. Seeing his granddaughter so pitiful, and Guiyao comforted and said, "Of course, if he voluntarily withdraws from the marriage, then military marriage can be cancelled." At this time, in the villa area. As soon as Yi Qiu arrived home, he saw Xiao Muling as cold as frost. Although it was after work time, Xiao Muling's attire was still very exquisite. Wearing a purple waist-tied long dress, paired with Valentino high heels, fully showcased her tall figure. Yi Qiu's eyes widened, and she couldn't help but swallow her saliva. She thought to herself, Song Ji's sister is right, purple really has a charm. However, Xiao Muling's face turned cold and he threw the file onto him. I don't allow my employees to have criminal records. You can file your resignation report yourself. Yi Qiuyun, shrouded in mist, had no idea what had happened. When he picked it up, it turned out to be his detention record at the police detention center. He glanced casually and suddenly frowned, saying very seriously, there's a problem with this personal profile. Xiao Muling had long guessed that he would say this, giving him the opportunity to explain. You tell me, where is the problem? Yi Qiu replied solemnly, there is one missing item above. Hand over underwear to the CEO of the Great White Circle Beauty. Chapter 9. I and drug gambling are at odds. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You. A dog can't spit out ivory from its mouth. It's agreed that this matter won't be brought up again. Xiao Muling's angry silver teeth clenched tightly, wishing to tear Yi Qiu apart. Hee, are you joking? Why are you taking it seriously? But then again, it's indeed big, white, and round. Conservatively speaking, there should be a C. If combined with my massage, you can take a D. Yi Qiu giggled and made deliberate kneading movements with both hands. If you keep talking obscene, get out of here now. Thinking of being exposed last night, Xiao Muling felt very ashamed. She's so big she hasn't even talked about her boyfriend, how could this guy take advantage of her? In order to prevent Yi Qiu from continuing to recall her naked scene, she immediately returned to the topic. What exactly happened to the illegal records above? Yi Qiu shrugged his shoulders and said truthfully, the files are all fake. I made them up to avoid my fiancée urging her to get married. Xiao Muling didn't believe his lies and said, impossible. This is what I asked my friends from the Archives Bureau to check, there can be no mistake. Yi Qiu is very helpless. His files are classified as a top secret of the country, can anyone check them? Even the head of the Suzhou Police Detention Center, Li Feng, only knows a rough idea. The information found by Xiao Muling was only deliberately fabricated by him to cover up his identity. To prove her innocence, Yi Qiu asked, what should I do to make you believe what I'm saying is true? Xiao Muling pondered for nearly half a minute, but didn't come up with any good solution. He could only say, unless you swear to heaven. Without hesitation, Yi Qiu immediately clenched his fist with one hand and his gaze was even firmer than joining the Communist Party. I swear, I will never stand with gambling drugs. Is this okay? Xiao Muling was taken aback and realized that there seemed to be something wrong. Wait. You are not compatible with drug gambling, Huang, you didn't mention a word. I didn't expect you to be quite smart, Yi Qiu chuckled and continued, I swear by Huang that I am not compatible with drug gambling. Xiao Muling rolled his eyes and retaliated, your surname is Yi, not Huang. No, you must swear again. Yi Qiu pursed his lips, thinking to himself that this little girl was not easy to fool yet. Helplessly, he could only swear again, Huang Tian is above me, I swear, I will not tolerate drug gambling. What? Is Huang Tian up there? Where are you putting the word, yellow, here? Xiao Muling helped his forehead and was very speechless. She discovered that Yi Qiu's slippery tongue skills were really unmatched by many people. Shake up and be clever one by one. If you react slowly, you might have been fooled by him. Alright, I swear to God, I am truly a gentleman, and I am still the kind of person who pretends to be a good person. Think carefully, if I really have any illegal records on my file, Uncle Li will rest assured that you will share the apartment with me. Seeing Xiao Muling in a state of anxiety, Yi Qiu stopped teasing her. He also didn't expect that the detention records fabricated in order to stay in the police detention center for a few more days would arouse Xiao Muling's suspicion. Xiao Muling thought for a moment. It seemed to make some sense. Uncle Li is the director of the police detention center, can he still collude with illegal elements? Since he can openly rent the villa to Yi Qiu, he must have investigated the details. But the problem is again, there is no need for friends from their own archives bureau to falsify files and deliberately spoof them, right? Xiao Muling was puzzled for a moment, unsure whether Yi Qiu was good or bad, right or wrong. However, although this guy's origin is unknown, at least he dug out the promised inner ghost around him. If there is a balance between merits and demerits, let's temporarily keep him in the company and observe for a period of time. If Yi Qiu is found to have ill intentions or ulterior motives, he will be immediately dismissed. After completing the psychological construction, Xiao Muling stood up and prepared to go upstairs. She and Yi Qiu made a 3-chapter agreement and did not interfere with each other's lives. Unexpectedly, Yi Qiu suddenly stopped calling out to her. I washed the dates, they are too big. Do you want to eat them? Yi Qiu raised her eyebrows, revealing an elusive smile. Taking a shower. Is it still very big? Do you want to eat it? Xiao Muling frowned and thought to himself, is there any logical relationship between these three? Just as she was about to ignore it, she suddenly thought of today's interview scene. In the skills section of Yi Qiu's resume, she wrote. The following is super delicious. Is it difficult? Are these two eating the same thing? And he just took a shower, and it was very big. Yeah, I washed it clean and tidy, and girls love to eat it. Just as Xiao Muling was pondering, Yi Qiu added another sentence. He swore that he really didn't mean to drive. Rogue. Who wants to eat your food? Even girls love to eat, it's crazy. Xiao Muling's face was full of anger, and he scolded in a coquettish voice. A second ago, she was still thinking that Yi Qiu could help her uncover the mole, so she shouldn't be a bad person. 1 second after the result, this bastard deliberately teased her with such vulgar language. What and what? I'll ask if you're eating dates, why are you crazy? Yi Qiu took the washed red dates and stuffed them into her mouth, feeling very innocent. This jujube is really big, and it's washed clean. Little girls like to eat it. What's the problem? You. Are you talking about red dates? I thought. Xiao Muling, who was originally burning with anger, suddenly had a pretty face that was hot and spicy. She stood there awkwardly, deliberately avoiding Yi Qiu's gaze, unsure of how to explain. If it weren't for wearing Valentino, her round and smooth toes would be so awkward that she could have dug out a 3-bedroom living room. Yeah, of course I'm talking about red dates, otherwise what? Is it difficult? Do you think the date washing I mentioned is the one in the shower room? Without waiting for Yi Qiu to finish speaking, Xiao Muling immediately interrupted him. It's getting late, hurry up and rest. If you dare to be late or leave early for work tomorrow, I will deduct your salary. Also, my relationship with you is not allowed to be mentioned to anyone in the company. Xiao Muling showed the courage of the iceberg CEO and ordered. What's our relationship? Is it a best friend or a boyfriend and girlfriend? Yi Qiu joked while eating dates. You look pretty ugly, you think pretty. We can at most consider a joint rental relationship as boyfriend and girlfriend. Xiao Muling gritted his silver teeth with a gurgling sound, warning. Yi Qiu did not refute, but coldly asked, Mr. Xiao, are you highly myopic? What do you mean by asking that? Xiao Muling didn't know what medicine was sold in Yi Qiu's gourd. She doesn't wear glasses and beautiful pupils, and her vision is also very good. Where does this start? Since you're not nearsighted, how could you not see my handsome and charming demeanor? To be honest with you, I have 7 fiancés, each of whom is truly beautiful and beautiful. Yi Qiu held her head high, with a proud expression. Just you. And 7 fiancé AES. If anyone marries you, that's high myopia. I really feel sad for your fiancé AES, having a fiancé AE like you who runs trains with your mouth full. Xiao Muling only thought that Yi Qiu was bragging, and after dropping this sentence, he returned to his own room. Chapter 10. Porsche 911. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The next day. When Xiao Muling woke up, Yi Qiu had already gone to morning exercise. There are prepared sandwiches, milk, fried eggs, and a piece of paper on the dining table. The content of the note is very simple, with only 5 words. Good morning, eat while it's hot. Xiao Muling's eyebrows furrowed slightly, and his mood was somewhat complicated. She has been accustomed to loneliness since childhood and has never been remembered by anyone. I didn't expect to be taken seriously for the first time, but it turned out to be a roommate. This guy isn't that bad either. Xiao Muling's eyebrows gradually relaxed, and there was a hint of warmth in his heart. However, the smile didn't last for half a second, and suddenly her pretty face turned cold. She noticed the 3 words, eat while it's hot, on the note, and deliberately put quotation marks on the word eat. This is clearly mocking her for making a fuss last night, thinking she wants to eat his thing. Dogs can't change to eat shit, hooligans. As he spoke, angry Xiao Muling prepared to throw breakfast into the trash can. As soon as she picked up the sandwich and fried egg, she smelled the fragrance overflowing, and the milk on the table was still steaming hot. Xiao Muling, who was originally very angry, hung his hand in mid-air and hesitated in an instant. She swallowed her saliva and comforted herself, saving is honorable, wasting is shameful. If he is late or leaves early next time, his salary will not be deducted. After completing sufficient psychological construction, Xiao Muling immediately began to indulge in food, with his lips covered in oil. But at this moment, the door suddenly opened and Yi Qiuqian, wearing big shorts and a small vest, came back from practice. Xiao Muling, who was in chaos, quickly stuffed the sandwich into his mouth, grabbed the milk in his hand, and carried it behind him. What are you doing? Yi Qiu wiped her sweat and casually asked. I didn't eat it. Xiao Muling panicked and quickly swallowed the sandwich, answering the wrong question. Ha ha ha. Watching Xiao Muling's cute and plump mouth, Yi Qiu couldn't help but laugh out loud. This is not a beautiful CEO who is as cold as ice, but clearly a cute little greedy cat who steals food. What are you laughing at? Xiao Muling was stared at by Yi Qiu and felt very uncomfortable. She had never been so embarrassed before. It's nothing, I took a shower. Yi Qiu took off her small vest and revealed her perfect figure with 8 abdominal muscles. Xiao Muling was taken aback for a moment, then quickly turned his back and scolded, "Can you pay attention to civilization? You're not the only one in this family." Yi Qiu didn't take it seriously and ran up to Xiao Muling to shake around, saying, "Last time I saw you all, this time I let you take advantage, and we'll be even." Xiao Muling immediately covered his eyes and said, "Narcissistic, who wants to see your body? Also, I told you not to mention that matter again." Although she said so on her lips, the 8-pack abdominal muscles on Yi Qiu's upper body involuntarily appeared in her mind. Xiao Muling, who had not been involved in any sexual affairs, blushed with a playful touch and instantly became restless. Fortunately, Yi Qiu had already taken a change of laundry to the shower, otherwise she wouldn't know how to end it. "Xiao Muling, are you crazy? Have you never seen a man before? He's just daydreaming all day." Xiao Muling patted his head, forcing himself to forget the scene just now. In order to avoid her wild thoughts, she immediately picked up the car key and prepared to go out to work. The Porsche in front of the door couldn't start at all, and when I looked at the dashboard, the oil needle had bottomed out. There's no way, Xiao Muling can only take out his phone and take a taxi to the company. However, this happened to be during the peak working hours, and the driver waited for nearly 15 minutes without taking the order. Just as Xiao Muling was in a hurry, Yi Qiu, wearing a T-shirt after taking a shower, walked out slowly. "What's wrong? A used car broke down." Yi Qiu glanced at Xiao Muling's car icon Porsche and casually asked. "What? A used car? I'm Porsche." Xiao Muling said she was very speechless. She didn't expect this guy to have such shallow knowledge. How could he see this German-made Porsche 911, priced at several million yuan, as scrap metal? Besides, she is at least the president of Auchan Group. Is she driving someone else's second-hand car? "I don't read much, don't lie to me, this is clearly a used car. Look at this, it's written clearly. I know the characters." As she spoke, Yi Qiu pointed to the Porsche logo and started making Chinese pinyin. You see, P means broken, Rs refers to second-hand, and Che represents a car. When combined, doesn't this mean broken second-hand cars? Yi Qiu analyzed word by word with reason and evidence. This. Okay, just consider it a used car. Xiao Muling realized that he and Yi Qiu were not on the same channel at all, and no matter how much he explained, he was playing the piano with a cow. She waited in front of the door for 5 more minutes, but still couldn't get a taxi. Yi Qiu, who was standing beside her, saw her difficulties and took the initiative to invite her. "Anyway, we're in the same company. Do you want to take my ride?" Xiao Muling glanced at Yi Qiu with suspicion and said, "Do you have a car?" Yi Qiu straightened her chest with pride and said, "Of course, I'm driving a new energy electric car." Xiao Muling pondered for a few seconds, thinking that this guy shouldn't be able to afford a Tesla, at most just a Wuling Mini. But it's better than nothing. It's better than her car running out of gas. There's still an important meeting this morning, and if we keep dragging on, we'll be late. Xiao Muling bit his silver teeth and said, "Could you please give me a ride?" "I can give you a ride, but shouldn't I give you some benefits?" Yi Qiu raised her eyebrows, her gaze somewhat playful. Xiao Muling immediately took a few steps back to protect himself. "I warn you not to have any ulterior motives towards me, it's impossible." Yi Qiu pouted and said, "Where are you thinking? What I mean is, can you give me a raise in salary?" Upon learning that this guy was not scheming, Xiao Muling breathed a sigh of relief and generously said, "Okay, I'll give you a bonus of 2,000 this month." So refreshing. Yi Qiu was just joking casually, but unexpectedly Xiao Muling actually agreed. Sure enough, a rich woman is a rich woman, and she can get a ride with a benefit fee of 2,000 yuan. If it weren't for his skin not being fair enough, he would really want to be a little white face who eats soft food. "Don't leave any ink stains, hurry up." Xiao Muling looked at his watch and urged. "Okay." Yi Qiu nodded and went to ride his new energy tram with a bumpy butt. Yes, there's no mistake. It's just riding, not driving. 20 seconds later, Xiao Muling froze in place. Is this your new energy tram?" Xiao Muling pointed to Yi Qiu's foot-operated Emma electric bike, tearing Yi Qiu's heart apart. "I'll ask you, is it new energy?" Yi Qiu asked seriously. After hesitating for several seconds, Xiao Muling reluctantly replied, "Yes." "I'll ask you again, is it a tram?" Yi Qiu continued to ask. Xiao Muling gritted his scalp and bit his back teeth, saying, "Yes." "Isn't that enough?" After receiving a positive response, Yi Qiu immediately began to boast. "It's not that Tesla can't afford it, but that Emma is more cost-effective. Don't be fooled by the unremarkable appearance of my new energy tram, it's actually quite impressive. It is endorsed by singer Jay Cho, who drinks Yomei milk tea, with guaranteed quality. Not only does it come with a convertible design, but it also has a panoramic sunroof with 360-degree natural lighting. In addition, there is no need to worry about power failure in the middle of the journey. Bring your own foot pedal. Only 3 mantu are needed for 100 kilometers. Of course, sometimes I kick against the wind, or when I have a big appetite, I may need 4 mantu.